and then we can start tonight's show. We were initially meant to be covering Mamelodi Sundowns versus Morocco Swallows, but a couple of hours ago, a statement came out that I'm going to read. Let me just start the show. Welcome everybody to the Overthinking Football Show. My name is George Mukwena. I am your host. The show is on every Monday to Thursday at 8 p.m. and then also on Fridays at 12:30 in the afternoon. For those who are contributing, it's a members show that you'll be able to watch, but the members steer the show. If you want to watch any of our previous episodes or discussions, they are available in full on YouTube. I have officially been banned in full from Facebook, so I'm going to be shifting my attentions towards that side. YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. We've got an Instagram audience that we're bringing in. So, as I was saying, we were meant to be covering Mamelodi Sundowns versus Morocco Swallows. That was the game that was meant to play today. But in a turn of events, Morocco Swallows released the following statement. And I want this statement to guide the conversation that we're going to have tonight. So the statement reads as follows. Official statement. On behalf of Morocco Swallows FC, an apology is extended to all affected parties to the cancellation of the following games against Mamelodi Sundowns FC and Golden Arrows FC due to an unresolved dispute between players and management that has resulted in management having to request cancellation of the 2 remaining games of this year from the PSL to allow it time to correct the situation. Management would like to assure everyone within and outside the club that the process of finding one another will soon be found. It has been resolved that no further details will be officially given until an update from the club is issued. Now, this was on the official Morocco Swallows Twitter accounts and social media accounts. I guess they don't want to reveal too much. Some reporters that started speaking about it a couple of hours earlier, speaking about how maybe Swallows would not be able to honor this fixture, right? But of course, we had to wait for official say, and eventually it did come out. And this comes on the backdrop of Swallows struggling. Last time, Steve Kompela made it known that the players hadn't trained for 10 days. Because in that 10 days, they were fighting this thing of not getting paid. And luckily, they were able to be convinced to get onto the pitch. Unfortunately, this time, in December, for the last 2 games that they were going to play, they weren't able to get the players on side. And I guess Swallows is lucky that EPSL has chosen to postpone these games and not necessarily make them losses, as far as I understand. So I want to have a conversation about PSL ownership, you know, what we think about the owners of the PSL. Because for me, it feels as though EPSL is one of the few leagues, the few top tier leagues, commercially and all of that, where ownership doesn't seem like it's a long-term thing. It doesn't seem like it's something that owners want to do for a long time and provide for a club and provide for a town, a city, grow those clubs in those places. It seems as though even money-wise, a lot of the owners who are coming into the league don't have the types of required monies to be able to sustain these type of teams. Think back on the couple, over a few years now. Think over a few years now. We've had TTM, there was an issue, TTM that initially bought Bidvest. We've had Royal AM recently going through similar issues where people have been wondering whether they were going to be paid. You know, we've had Abo Swallows, a Swallows team that had to be revived from King 4th Division in order for us to see Swallows as it is right now. Does that mean that this ownership thing, man, because every now and then teams are up for sale? Remember Abo Maritzburg United selling things, Abo Mpumalanga Black Aces selling their statuses, and it's really becoming an epidemic, especially seeing that in a season, we're inside the season. We're about to finish off the season, and now Swallows is having these issues. A lot of the teams don't have sponsorships. So you also wonder there, are owners doing enough to try get sponsors to come on board? Why would sponsors come on board? You know, are we building a league that's going to be like that? Or is it a league that we have a billionaire on one side, we have a couple of teams that are 100 millions, worth hundreds of millions, that run themselves, and then the rest of the league is living hand to mouth. Is that what we're doing, paycheck to paycheck at a league level? And it also brings into question EPSL itself. Think about EPSL, right? Premier Soccer League, the Premier League in South Africa, one of the biggest leagues in Africa, struggling for ownership. You've got SuperSport televising these games every day. These teams have visibility. They have all of this stuff, but they have to rely on Sundowns. Sundowns coming to come buy players in order for their models to work. This is an issue that I think is a problem with our PSL. I mean, I always speak about Chelsea. Here's Chelsea. They went through whatever they went through with Abramovich and the Ukraine war. And it took how many months for the ownership change of Chelsea to go through? Because that FA made sure, that every box was ticked. You couldn't just jump in and get the club. You couldn't just jump in and move the club because of certain contractual things that the clubs have. So why don't we see that in our league? Why then do we see more and more owners jumping in and more owners jumping out? More and more owners not being able to sustain this thing for a very long time. And what type of owners do we need? What type of owners do we need in the league? Back to the point about Chelsea. Guys, we were in a similar situation with Bloemfontein Celtic. For those who don't remember, Max Shabalala couldn't run at Bloemfontein Celtic anymore. He couldn't fund it. He was going under. Funny enough, he was going under a few weeks before the league started. And Jigi, the only owner we could get, was Umam Kize. Umam Kize, who was facing a disciplinary at the same time for breaking other PSL teams. And in the 2 weeks that she took over that team, they moved it to KZN. She had to deal with 2 squads right before the league started. What type of due diligence is that? As Khalifang is asking here, what type of due diligence is that? Remember TTM, Botivits moved them to Limpopo to make it a TTM. Very, very great to have a team in Limpopo. A couple of months later, what happens? It's Marumo Kellens. These are all issues, man, and I feel like sometimes our league doesn't feel real. Sometimes our league feels as though, man, it's people who make up the rules as they're going along. And it's sad because this league was so strong. The ownership structures of this league, circa early 2000s, was incredible. But now we sit with owners that change every day. We sit with matches being postponed day of. One of the guys in the WhatsApp group, in the Overthinking Football WhatsApp group, one of the guys spoke about how he was almost going to buy a ticket. Now, can you imagine you bought a ticket, Ticket Pro doesn't do a refund. And you get there and you find out at the stadium, good time, and I like Sundowns on their social medias were tweeting as if everything was the same. Now, Iswalos is releasing statements. If you remember correctly, remember during COVID, when Cape Town City had to play its Chiefs, flew all the way to Joburg and then things happened. You look at right now, Chipa Mpengensi announced that Chipa United is moving to Buffalo City. They did stadium checks and they did all that stuff. Very last minute to ask the PSL, and the PSL was like, no, we can't move those fixtures because this is what we're sitting with right now. These are the problems we're sitting with. And what are the answers? Can we get better owners? Can we attract better owners as a league? Can we do all of those things? Or should we maybe look into different models of ownership? In Saudi Arabia right now, the top 4 teams are owned by the PIF, the Public Investment Fund of Saudi. So the Saudi government, and I know government is not where we want to go, maybe we can do it as a consortium. Government owns the top 4 teams. They bought them outright. Is it something we should do in the PSL we should look at? Because for me, I don't see us moving forward like that. And it's sad because I believe that this league has a lot of potential. But if we carry on doing this, man, if we carry on living like this, I think more than half of the teams in the PSL don't even have a sponsor, a shirt sponsor. How is that a real league? But anyway, guys, this is the conversation that I want to have today about ownership in the PSL and what is going wrong and what can be fixed from this. That's the conversation I want to have tonight, guys. So remember, if you want to request, the lines are going to be open now. You have to be following me on TikTok in order to join me. And then a button at the bottom of the screen that says multi-guest will appear. Click on the button request, I let you in, and we have a conversation about this topic for today. Before we get into that, I just want to read some of these comments here. I just want to read some of these comments while I'm here. And guys, please tap the screen. Tap on screen, guys, tap on. It's free, lady, man. Tap on fella. And if you have not followed, please follow. So, imagine going through December without getting paid and still having to train, says Ukwena. Yeah, it's nonsense. Ogutle says, I suspect these business owners just buy these teams to launder money, then discard them in the end. I think if you lack sponsorship, bro, you'll never survive, says Umshengu. Talifan says, I wonder where the due diligence is. Sean says, I said last week, CAF and SAFA cannot both have an issue with the PSL. The PSL board is a word I'm not going to say. Please, guys, you're not going to swear. Siabonga says the Badalas who run the league must vacate space for younger creative football administrators. Bovo says now the owners think about themselves. I think they're laundering money. When they're done with the issue of money, it starts. Ringangit Diski says it's too easy to own a PSL team and the league doesn't care enough to vet the owners. Mong Musa says, what is the sponsorship doing in these cases? There is no sponsorship. So let me let in the first panel. I'm going to try to do two today so that we can have as many voices as we can handle here and give everybody a chance to jump in. So please request Tani, guys, and I'll let you in. Each panel is going to get 2 rounds of questions and then we will go on. Kumo, welcome to the show, my brother. How are you?
Neke sharp. Well, somewhat fine. When
At least the resting yana, let's say, but mara ke sharp. Tell me, Kumo, what do you think of this topic we're discussing today? What do you think of PSL ownership in generally? Can you still hear me, Kumo?
topic it's tlhalohanya. Yeah, I can hear you. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Perfect.
Tlhalohanya, guys. We see it's one thing to say where's the due diligence, where's what. Remember, not a lot of people want to invest in the PSL. And at the moment, the PSL will take whatever love comes their way. So it's one thing to blame Mam Keys. At least she's putting her money and trying to make something in the PSL. And it is something that you guys don't notice. Because it shows we don't have sponsors. We don't have people or companies that are interested. Most of that bank are making a lot of money off us, but they don't want to sponsor our teams. And the other thing, speaking of that, also, why is everything tailored to Kaizer Chiefs' needs? And a bonus I'm going to be honest here. Kaizer Chiefs is allowed to have sponsors of Vodacom, but Bona and they can play with MTN 8, right? Rena as Sundown, so our home ground Loftus in Ali Vodacom branding, and that is why we can play with the MTN 8 good thing. Why Mara Chiefs is allowed to play? Nothing happens to them. Why is Chiefs allowed to have their own ball like Apa? Why can't we also have Puma? Why every time I don't know how this was the area when they forfeited their match, nothing happened to them. They didn't get 3 points. Why Chiefs always gets away with everything? That is the problem that PSL happen. And the other reason why bring a Chiefs happen. There are rumors Swallows were supposed to get sponsorships at Telkom.
Yeah.
Because of Funalubudi MTN Lady Vodacom, but that is why it was blocked. That money could have helped Swallow, Sega sponsorship and everything else. At level, Swallows is also a big club, one of the oldest, in fact one of the founding teams. Muntu and PSL, Mara the factory a bloggy because of the mafia, because a little mutawum, banzo quali. I want to know Naya Boratavati. Yeah,
Mm, mm,
bora, yeah,
mm, mm,
bora.
mm,
So I don't know, bro. I don't know. Sometimes le rena rata kawata wa one. So
mm,
na ke blame with TTM baraga the status. Clearly, it's a practice that's been done across Africa
mm,
because rena ke we are home.
mm,
I won't say allegedly. Get the fact. Yeah,
mm,
ngaya
mm,
court on na.
mm,
Ka hutsu ku legally. I've got a lawyer. Legally mahal.
mm.
So look at Africa. They irahala diose. They irahala
Bo
diose. Ne?
pyramids.
And then because of rena. Yeah, I agree. Now we are privy.
Hey, Kubo, I think there's something happening there, ka network.
So, guys, OSL team, it's a endless money pit. It's difficult to run.
Mm, mm.
Okay, can you guys hear me now? I
Yeah.
was about to make my closing argument. Anyway,
Mm,
as I was about to say, Kere, owning a PSL team, ne, it's a money pit.
mm,
It's right now fortunate core we've got the billionaire who believes in our team, and unfortunately bamkhize bazamile hwapala le panyaza why nasa panyaza mara ke baringa na with oko government thing wasa fa chomi ID 10 damo sponsor agar na fa bu Edwin so dido mamang le na wote nuila dhamana
yeah, allegedly. Ah, unkenya ko tse ding. Ay, 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 ay. Okay, Kuma, let me let in. Utebo, Tebza, welcome to the show, my brother. How are you?
Eke shava braga. Hey,
Hey,
member
wamuka
unsanify.
Kumo. Obata unkenya ko tse ding, man. Au.
Hey, member unsanify. My brother, how are you? Fine.
No, I'm good, my brother. How are you?
I'm not good. I was just preparing to go to the game, and then
Mm,
Rabona this thing. But
mm,
then in all this, I think PSL must take the blame
mm,
because I
mm,
believe if you're running whatever company or something,
mm,
like I think you need to vet these people if they
mm,
can sustain the team
mm,
for, let's just say, if they don't have a sponsor, if they can sustain the team for 2 years, if
mm,
they can
mm,
run the
mm,
team for 2 years without any sponsors.
mm,
Because now all these things, motho kera 3 million yana ka mo accounting or 5 million yana, o nyaka go reka team, o nyaka go reka status sa team.
mm, mm,
And then they don't get sponsors. Because honestly, it's not easy to run a team without a sponsor because there are
mm,
so many financial things administered irahalang kata kontalan.
mm, mm,
So must just PSL must just be firm le kore badire man ba be firm in vetting these guys, the owners and the teams. I think in tshwanetse be le audit. I think it's very important.
mm,
Or
mm,
audit
mm,
the team so they
mm,
can also see hore these people ba ka kgona ho fihla ngwaha or not.
mm,
Because if they don't, like now what we are seeing, players didn't get paid. Bo antile
mm,
jali ba yona kang because it's
mm,
December no. Ntshwara.
mm.
So yeah, I mean, but then
But is it worth it? Can we blame the PSL? Is the PSL able to attract those type of owners, or do they have to live off of these crabs? All right, well, wait, how can I offer? We have to accept it because it's the only offer on the table.
but then if you do that, they must be strict because
Mm,
if you do that and then you say you don't attract anyone and then you're just letting anyone in, ho
mm,
tlo ba le mathata.
mm,
Do you understand?
mm,
So rather have 10 teams tse o itseng hore they're gonna sustain themselves until whenever,
mm,
whether with the sponsors or not, because
mm,
we can even let 22 teams ba sa vetiwang, and then those people are tsebe hore ba tlo sustain, but they're gonna be self-sustained till when?
mm, mm,
Do you understand?
mm. Okay.
So rather be strict and firm and say these are the instructions or the rules. We redira so, and then we're gonna come and then we're gonna audit you guys.
Mm,
If the rules and regulations are didn't meet, then you guys need to, because
okay.
if you just say, hey, now the sponsor say what, mama ngoko suffer because he owns what, mama. I mean, like, eh, no
Mm,
mamkhize lena o nyaka ho rekisa because
mm,
why
mm,
hana
mm,
sponsor,
mm,
but then at least yena o a patela mara
mm,
hana sponsor le yena wa bona hore Mamkiza is a lot of money, but then Lena Wabonor, team happy. If you don't win trophies, if you don't win trophies, I mean, and Gamo, you still have to buy players. Do you understand?
Yeah, yeah.
And then the players list on the demands. Ogoro player one all about 250,000.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, so that's just my opinion.
I'm gonna come back. There's another question, guys. Let's tap the screen. Let's try get to 20,000, guys. Just tap the screen. It's free. TikTok, guys. Just carry on tapping while you're listening. It ranks. It helps me rank and helps this go to more people, so we can attract more people for this conversation. Pratio, welcome to the show, my brother. How are you?
Awu because i-3 points namuhla abanye abakayitholanga asinandaba ukuthi badlalile abakadlalanga. Good. How are you, Mfoti?
No, I'm good. Hey, Mara. At least bakhona ukuresta man. Shemba bazamile. What do you think of this topic, Theo?
Let me greet everyone, guys. Hey, let me greet the guys on the panel, Amachit, and the ladies there, comment section, and also the listeners. First of all, man, let me address Linda Kumu. We were not playing today. We are not advertising anything. We just quiet, leave us alone. Rather mention the Pirates because ngatin bangan na please. Oracela umtsipe mana support the Swallows. Maybe they will play. Over 3 I'm agent ngiyakhala. But nonetheless, because I know there was gonna be 6 goals today. I think we are all being too hard on EPSL, guys. I'm gonna take a different direction on this one.
Okay.
When Mr. Uti, I think you will also come into this one. We spoke about Ukhaira Kompela, the buying of Ujali. If you are rebranding, guys, as far as we know, Swallows didn't need to Kompela, they didn't need Ujali. About Akpegi, there are many players that they bought that they knew they could not be able to maintain. And it's not the first time that a team of Swallows caliber is faced with such situations. Alia Mamkize ngayifaka Mamkize beyabhadala abantu ground ngokuthi ukubhadala uNokovic 12 million yakhe. No one asked them to buy Nokovic and he get injured. Guys, you need to understand football is a business. EPSL is not gonna coming into my teams and ask them everything. Is your jerseys all right? Are your socks, your cocks? No. You as a team or as I mean that's why there's what is called football manager, sports management, like if you are running a PSL as if you are running a business alone, you'll be in trouble. If you own one, imagine if Uban Chipampenges was to go on Twitter or Instagram and say, yeah, hey, today my team is what. No, that's why he has handlers. But for those kind of reasons, because there are certain things that we don't even need to involve the PSL about Safa in. As the Swallows on their own, what is it that they were doing very wrong in the first place? It's not like they didn't know they are going to play in Sundowns. It's not like, even if guys, we can talk about sponsors. Before you even buy a team, you must already have an outlining of knowing what you need to have sponsors. You need to have people that are going to pump money into the team. Hence, that's why you go per share, guys. I will make an example in Chelsea. Chelsea guys has been buying players because they have a guy who came in and said, I have the money to support this team. You go to Barcelona, a team that has been winning a league, Champions League, all of a sudden they became bankrupt because of having Messi. That's why they had to let him go. So if you're gonna think it's in La Liga or a federation as a Spain in King Alapo, then there's a problem with us. We cannot be blaming EPSL for Guti Swallows didn't do diligence and they went into buying players for no reason, new coaches for no reason. I mean, we even said it. What did Musa Nyatama do? He's already on their payroll. Why do you think the Chiefs does not want to let go of Uzwane? Because they have to pay him. So if you don't do that, and if you're going to fire people and hire people for fun, and then when you have to pay players, it becomes a problem. No, we can't, guys. We can't. It's not, as I want to say something as a disclaimer. If Nangabune mal, know how to use your money. Don't play with money. Football, you cannot be playing with money with football. If you're going to invest there, know it's going to be a long-term investment. How imagine?
Hey, Bagvala. Theo. Oh, network. Okay, I'm going to come back to you, Theo. Just get your network right there, then I'm going to let you back. Sean, welcome to the show, my brother. How are you?
Man, I'm okay, my man. Thanks for having me.
No stress. Tell me, what do you think of this here topic we're discussing?
I, I think Kaizer Chiefs fans and the PSL are best friends because our guys, we can't say that you can't pay Steve Compella. Steve Compella has been paid by Sundowns. You can't say that they can hire Jale. You negotiate these deals based on what you know you can afford. So I think the PSL has failed South African football, um, because they've been very comfortable for a very long time. Uh, as long as it does not affect Kaizer Chiefs and Orlando Pirates, nobody really cares. There's been a lot of things that are happening in the PSL that any sane administrator would ask themselves, how is this even possible? You understand? But because people are called doctors, we allow it to happen. You understand? So it's for me, I hope it continues. I hope we see more and more suffering in the PSL, because maybe by then we will see people tend to take our football seriously. I think a lot of regulations have been allowed to rest by the PSL. That's why we find ourselves in the position that we're in, because excuse me, how do you sell the and there are a lot of people that want to feature and sponsor the PSL. A lot, guys, a lot. It's just that the regulations that are there haven't changed in such a long time, because there are conflicts everywhere. You see. So for me, the thing is, how do I even sell the PSL to anybody when I know for a fact that there are only going to be 7 teams with the same name in the next 10 years? In a team of 16, I know for a fact that only 7 of them are going to have the same name in the next 10 years. You understand? It's going to continuously change. It's going to continuously change. And we keep on. And here's another example of why Kaizer Chiefs and Pirates are a problem in the PSL. This whole thing of people saying you can't sell players at this amount of money, it relaxes the standards. It makes people so comfortable, to see a big team compete with the Sekhukhune for free agents is ridiculous, because then you are saying the market should not grow. There should be no development in our league. There should be no improvements in our league. You know what I mean? Like what is happening in the PSL is because of the PSL. We can't say SAFA is responsible for why the PSL has no money. SAFA is responsible for why. You understand what I mean? I mean, they also have to play a role. Why is it that the PSL allowed SuperSport to hoard all the PSL games? You can't find one single PSL game at ACVC. And it's been allowed to continue like nothing is happening. I mean, why do you have... And here's another thing that I have an issue with the PSL. You watch SuperSport 3 and you still find content that has to do with European football. And you ask yourself, Kanjan, why? And because you can find European football in SuperSport 3, SuperSport 4, SuperSport 5, SuperSport 6, SuperSport 9 sometimes. You know what I mean? So you have so much content from Europe, but how much of your own content does Europe have? Because it will always be true, guys. It's easier and it's favorable for you as a business to trade always in dollar, in euro, in pound, especially when your own currency is not as expensive. So we keep on buying and consuming, and we're doing nothing for our own football. And then we ask ourselves, why is it that our football is where it is? It's because of the PSL. The PSL doesn't want to develop, guys. It doesn't want to grow. It doesn't want to change. It doesn't want to innovate. It doesn't want to do anything. It doesn't want to participate, guys. It doesn't. And it fights any and every initiative. I mean, the type of fight that we had between SAFA and the PSL because of the AFL is an example of it. You understand? I mean, sharp. There are issues. That's why it's the inaugural competition. It's the first one. Right? At the end of the day, you sit down, you do analysis, and you see how you can improve it. The reason why we have to have MTN 8 and we have to have NetBank and we have to have Carling, for me it's ridiculous, especially Carling. Carling should just be another sponsor for the PSL so that these teams can actually survive and try and do something with what they already have.
Okay.
You see, so for me, this willing seller, willing buyer is the reason why where we are in the PSL. And we have to take it to Dr. Motaung and Dr. Koza. Those are the people who have turned the PSL into their own personal project. And they don't want to shift. And that guy there from Cape Town City, he's trying to be friends with all of them, so he agrees with everything that they do. He's forgetting that he wanted a sponsor, I think from F&B,
F&B, yeah.
and they refused for
eventually
him to have the same
agreed,
sponsor. You understand? He had to sue them in order for him to get the sponsor. Everybody's trying to be friends with these people. That's why it will never change.
Okay. Let me read some of these comments. Let's see. PSL need to review sponsorship rules. Guys, what happened to the game between Morocco Swallows and Mamelodi Sundowns? Swallows can't play that game. Did Swallows start this season another sponsorship? I believe so. The only thing they announced was Itrip. Bombane says Jali still getting his pay from Sundowns. I don't know. I'm not sure about that. Agent says not cheese, bro. It's Soweto. It's one of my talking points. Allegedly, was the rule before, after. Bruce did ask, says Authentic One, why do we have club owners at big positions in the PSL? That I from OT. Can somebody explain what Ubuntu Butu in connection with Sundowns? It's one of Mutsepe's companies. Good evening, everyone. Let's not forget to tap the screen. Please, guys, tap the screen. Let's try to get to 30,000. It's free. Just tap the screen here on TikTok, guys. Let's go, let's go, let's go. It helps with rankings and all of that stuff. Let's see. Hi, Alson Tabi. Swallows has been struggling to train for 2 months now. Compella is so unfortunate when it comes to a head coach. This is a copy of what happened to Celtics. But go get people on big salaries because that's a cost to companies, says 6. Moose at the PSL doesn't have money. Cape Town City Chair doesn't play near those expensive players, rather goes to find players elsewhere, says 6. AFL is just an elite Makufe, says 6. Guys, please continue tapping. Please continue tapping. Kubo, I want to come back to you. If you could profile your perfect type of owner, if you are the PSL and they were asking you that, what type of owners do you want? What would you profile an owner as for you?
First of all, sorry, I get what to come we engage. Theo, I'm gonna mention Chiefs because of sure play benefit. That's why I'm mentioning Chiefs. You think like talking about your weak team? Got a benefit in every aspect. Okay? And back to your question, if we could profile and train an owner besides using Motsepe, because he's the benchmark, honestly. It would be someone like me or Theo. Reason being is that but with money, with Motsepe pockets or your one Ruet pockets, or maybe your Sri Ramaphosa, your Tokyo Sequales, or even a business person who has access to deep pockets and connections, or one who has the best black book so they can get sponsors on board. But the person who wants to own a PSL club should have passion. And I believe that Wabona Kamko Nalisi always go back and forth is because of like we love our teams. So if CUA now, if I could stop relying on my 350s and Theo stop relying on his 2.5s, we have mine. We can be the best sponsors, we can be the best PSL owners.
Okay. Debra, if you were to profile owner, like if you were to say a type of owner to take over this league, what would you think of?
Braga Village, Motsepe. I think that's the perfect answer. I think Motsepe with a bit of passion. I mean, yeah.
Would you make it, but make it sustainable, Nyana, because I
mean, someone with passion, with deep pockets and connections. I mean, you first need to have passion for whatever business that you're doing, and then have pockets to sustain that business.
Mara, how do I prove the passion, though?
How do you prove the passion?
Interview. How do I prove the passion that this person has passion?
You will see with the decisions that you make in the team. Let the management of your team will see this person only. Leave vision, when you sell us the vision,
Okay. Sean, profile me a perfect owner for the league, or owners that's sustainable for everybody? If you are looking for ownership, what would you look for?
Yeah. Well, of course, you have Patrice Motsepe, because number one, he understands that there's no football club in the world that's ever been run money solely coming from football. Nowhere in the world does a football club fund itself. You understand? So there's forever money coming in to fund a football club. Number two, he understands that he's competing with Arab money in Africa, and therefore he needs to find methods to make sure that he is able to not match them, but to compete with them, because there's more than one way to compete in football. And then you have a Stellenbosch, for example, that's owned by billionaires, but those billionaires understand how the club just started. The club just started, so the most important thing for them is not to say, I want to win the league. It's not to say, I want to compete with Sundowns. It's to say, how do I put together a club? How do I... Because that's the one thing that South African football clubs don't have. A model that you can look at and say, but this is a football club. You know, and the football club is not necessarily what happens on the pitch. What happens on the pitch is the last thing that you're supposed to be doing at the football pitch. You see, if a team like Kaizer Chiefs comes on and they win a game, 3 games in a row, but you don't understand how they won, but they won, the first thing you say is, but what's happening at the club? Because before you get to the pitch, it starts off the pitch. So Stellenbosch is so organized off the pitch that they're able to keep on reproducing the same type of player with better performances, and are able to actually measure where they are and work towards it. Because if the owners decides tomorrow, and what Stellenbosch is doing is the same thing that Patrice Motsepe eventually did, because he came in as a fan of football and not as a football person. And then he was like, no, man, I'm going to buy everybody. I'm going to assemble. He did what these Arabs are doing with PSG. It's like they're playing FIFA, but in real life. You know, FIFA manager or PES manager, but in real life. So they're taking all these best players. They try to put them on one team and they think it's going to work. You see, that's the most important thing. But it does not matter what all these owners are going to do. I mean, even SuperSport are trying to survive by selling. You see, they didn't have sponsors for a very long time, and you can put that on COVID. You understand? But that's the type of ownership that you're supposed to have in the league. But it will never work if the PSL itself, because if you look at Barclays, guys, Barclays might be called Barclays, but it doesn't mean that they are sponsoring the entire EPL. They are not. You see, policies don't want to change in this country. We have already a PSL that's still begging. It's begging for money. You understand? It's begging for money. So it's not going to work, whatever model that you bring in. And it's unfortunate that we have to mention Mamelodi Sundowns and the Stellies, because they have billionaires behind them. You know, it could happen with Royal AM if only there's proper mentorship of the lady in charge. You understand? If somebody can actually sit her down and speak to her about exactly how she can change the team and make the team work. And the first thing is, she needs to release that boy of hers. He's not a 10. He's not a footballer. You understand? So it honestly doesn't matter. The only thing that we have to do is to make sure that we have a PSL that's able to protect the brand, which means is PSL able to make itself attractive? Because is PSL able to make itself attractive to the world, so the world can come in and explore what the product is? Because I'm telling you now, guys, if somebody wants to fund any team in the PSL, I can name 6 teams they can fund. 6 teams they can fund. You understand? To make the job easier. You understand? It will be worth it. But we don't have the type of exposure because we don't have the type of leadership that we need.
Okay. No, Sean, thank you so much. For time's sake, I need to move on to the next panel. Thank you to the first panel that joined now. Let me bring in the next guys so we can carry on this conversation. Let's mix it up a bit. I'm gonna let everybody come in today, since this is a very deep topic. Guys, please tap the screen. Let's try to get as many likes as we can. I want to try to see if we can get up to 30. Let me see. Just some of these comments here. Mutsepe is the perfect answer. Makufut Al Ali. Guys. A profile of an owner says Renai Tiski is combination of Mutsepe, Taung, and Wustembegoy. That would be the perfect owner. Why was today's game postponed? Boraka Swallows couldn't avail themselves for it. So they've asked for both of the games to be postponed because they have issues with AMA player and payment of players. Veli Lemtagababa, how are you?
Ngiyaphila konjani mntaka baba?
Ah, ngiright, Vili, ngiright. Ngitshele, na i-topic uyibona njani le ndaba esikhulumayo?
Izolo yangisabotage indaba yenetwork. Ngiyabuza ukwanele ula nawe manje usabathe uthutha angisekho lapho. Ayikho. No man. Angibulise everyone on the panel na kuma comment la eceleni. First thing mhlambe engingaqala ngithi ngicela ukuyazi nje. Is this match postponed or cancelled or what?
The rumor says that it's been postponed. The rumor says officially PSL has postponed it. So it means that eSwallows wouldn't lose points. But they haven't confirmed.
Yeah, because I've been checking on the net trying to get a statement from PSL, get anything on the PSL side. We only hear from Lababa, journalists and all that other stuff. But yeah, that's our PSL for you. Sometimes of which on the other side so we are caught in between here because sometimes we don't even know the full facts on what's the coach. I could hear the guys, hey, they are spitting fire, man, but it's okay. So zama kulungisa lapho kancane lapho okushoda khona si explain kuye mhlawumbe olwazingane esincane sinalo. Look, ukulungisa yena ubaba ngale kuqaleni ukhumo i-PSL M10 azange yale ukuthi iSundowns idlale Loftus. The only game that they were not allowed to play Loftus makuye ama-game we-CAF when it was still sponsored by Orange, the telephone company from France. That was only. But MTN8 doing an the problem ukuthi MTN8 it coincide with the off-season rugby, and of which the Sundowns, they like to make themselves bigger tenants. No, the bigger tenants end of us Blue Bulls. So if the rugby season is off, that's when Blue Bulls fix their stadium. Not Abanya Bantu, it's Blue Bulls who are fixing their stadium. So I hope that one is off the road. So we are going. So it's just a coincidence again, but the PSL doesn't have a problem. And also another thing that you also need to take into consideration and address it. Do you guys remember when the season started last time? Ukoza had to go and beg Umutsipe to come and sponsor his second division because there was no one who wanted to sponsor that league. It's not easy for PSL to get number sponsors. Taking into consideration so like in our country, we know like a business here, soccer, who does it belongs to, and also even though there are some people who are there, but I no, not chance. It's not 50%. Research and they talk by emotional lamalanga. Don't need to doing and check the tenants of us is Blue Bulls.
Ah, man, ningayile man.
Yeah, abantu beSundowns bayathanda by emotional lamalanga man. Eh baya nothi batshelile iqiniso hayi. Abafuna ukulalela. No, but it's fine. But the anchor tenants as Loftus are Blue Bulls. So it's difficult to get a sponsor. And who said ukuthi Maguza DStv when it took over like sponsorships in Premier League, PSL didn't look for other sponsors. Can anyone on the panel or anywhere tell me who came forward and said they want to sponsor the league? We don't know. You see, we don't know. If it's only DStv came in, then what was the PSL supposed to do? Because they have to beg, they are in need of a sponsor. So they have to take that sponsor, but not in a way you're going to, if they are doing that now at the same time now, they still need to pick up their socks when it comes to administration. And sometimes when they raise the issue of financial fair play, others they become emotional because remember, if financial fair play in Europe, it was introduced to make sure the teams also are sustainable. They don't spend more than what the income they receive. So it's easier for even for any owner to come in when he take off. Because, like for example, now if you can set any owner Sundowns and said any owner can just come in and take it on his Sundowns with that bill, player. Sometimes cannot even afford to do that. So EPSL need to do that. Need to administrative. They need to improve, tighten those those policies. And of which sometimes we only blame Nabo Koza, Nabo Muntao, and always say yes, we always see them because they're the front face. Yeah, PSL, but the PSL is run by board of governors. That's their business. You see, that's their business.
But isn't that part of the problem, Velile Uti? Whenever the league needs money or something,
yes,
Melema Pegu Koza, no case or whoever, they must go find money for the whole league.
Yeah,
Isn't it a problem? Gutama owner themselves for their own teams. Suke bangakwazi ukubhadala amasalary, but now bangenile.
yes, that's the problem, because anyone who is there, the other ones that are there, they don't want to take responsibility. But also at the same time, it become a problem because if you're influential, like the last selection year PSL executive committee, Umtsipe came in forward and endorsed to cause before even the meeting. And then what the other ones that are doing, Umtsipe came in forward and said, I'm endorsing chairman again for another term. And I'm endorsing, Umtsipe did that. So if they did that, and the other ones, they come in and also bavotela that one said, hi, vele siyavumela, these are the people that they must lead soccer. What must happen? Because that's their business. They need to run it. If Bona and Abona are not prepared, you allow these two guys to run the PSL. By the same time, you come and complain of which you've got a platform there that has been provided by you. That it's your business. If you can get and own a team, you must know you are part of the business of the business like PSL. So you need to have a way there. But if the owners of the clubs nabo abakwenzi logo and come up with new ideas and propose new things with PSL, if they need changes, can they change it and stop complaining because they're given an opportunity to do that? But if they're not doing it, we will always run into these people who are running this big soccer, and then we will come and complain now and then. But also, you know, EPSL now, on the other side, administrative, it just need up to pick up its because games like these solos. First of all, the PSL is holding a monthly grant is almost 2.5 million. So which means for these 2 months, if they say 2 months, but the PSL has got 5 million swallows. Show the PSL they can hire maybe an administrator just to operate that function so that players can be paid and not cancel a game, because canceling game, it doesn't only affect the swallows, it also affects the brand, your PSL. Because you cannot have a game cancel you whereby there's commitment in terms of sponsorship. People have already bought tickets to want to go see. There's plan for those games. Everything is there. So PSL need to stand up and take care of its own production, because clubs will come and go, but you as a brand, a PSL now, you need to be professional enough to sustain Lokunyani PSL. For a second one.
Yeah, let me bring in your agent. Agent, welcome to the show, my brother. How are you?
I was fine before the previous speaker was fine. The previous speaker decided to speak.
Hey, here we go. You guys are just devious, man.
Just by speaking. I think this topic needed the Friday show. I think because some of the things which he raised, they must be addressed fully, you know. But I don't want to be like some fans where you ask me a question and I answer the question that I want to answer.
Yeah.
Yes, but
what do you think of this topic we're speaking about?
I think it's interesting. Back to Velile though, for a second. It's interesting that, you know, I think it's a chess game now, you know, because now we're in a situation. I don't know. Maybe confirm this for me. Did PSL release any statement? Because I won't see a statement from Soros.
Yeah, I haven't seen one from the PSL itself.
You see now, but the match officials didn't show up. You know, for a game to be declared a forfeit, the match officials have to show up, and the other ones have to declare a forfeit. But the match officials are not there. You know, so it's a tricky one, because now I'm on some. Is it postponed, or is it?
You know the story. It's gonna go to the executive. It's gonna go to that board of governors.
Disciplinary,
and then they're going to.
And I think And I tried to like search the internet for rules and stuff like that, because with CAF it was easy. I saw that, you know, for a game to be postponed, there must be a 72 hours, you know,
Notice.
notice put in, you know, you see. So it's easy, you know. But now with this one, it's going to be technicalities now, because in as much as Swallow said they're not going to honor the fixture because of financial of whatever, the PSL, the official didn't come and say, we saw, we were there, they didn't show up, you know. Hence, I think Sundowns came, did pre-warm-ups, documented, took a photo, and went back, you know, because I think it was them who were like, you know what, we're not gonna play this game where we don't know where things are a bit grayish, you know. So I think it's very unsporting, and like not like Oveli was saying, that teams will come and go, but the brand PSL stays, you know. It is not, it is the prerogative of Sundowns, yes, to inform Sundowns fans that guys don't come to the stadium, you know, because it's not like some of us, you see with me, I'm just lucky that I saw the news from a journalist that I trust, and I was about to buy a ticket, you know. So imagine those who went to the game and they didn't, they're like, no, there's no game here, you know. So the PSL should be more quicker, and I think the right thing is for the PSL to release a statement before Solos and say, dear stakeholders, there won't be no game. Well, further information will be communicated. That's it, you know. But it's fine. I digress. And it goes back to, before I deal with Velil, I think I'll need to come back to Velil. I must deal with him properly. But let me answer your question
Aye,
first. No, don't forget. I shouldn't forget Velil, because I was fine before you disturbed my peace. But it's very interesting, and I know these rules, you know, that SAFA puts in place when they are looking at an owner, you know. But my question becomes, are the rules being applied, or is just a thing which just exists there and say, okay, fine, this one needs to be this one needs to happen, but they're not necessarily followed, you know. Because one of the provisions that SAFA says is, you know, but before I go there, but I'm on some with Europe, what they have is they have the financial sustainability rule, you know. Can you sustain the football club for the next 5 years? And they look at your money and say, at this current moment, with the money that you own, that you have, you know, can you sustain a club for the next 5 years, you know? And on top of that financial sustainability rule, they say, okay, fine, we look at your annual earnings, you know. Your earnings cannot be more than 70% of your revenue, you know. And I think it is to create a buffer, you know, of saying you have players, you know, of all the player salaries, there must be less than 70%. If there's less than 70% of your earnings, then it means you always have that 30% room to maneuver, you know. So you always pay your players, you know. So I think it's simple things like this which PSL needs to take care of and deal with them, you know, because sometimes you look at the owners that are being brought in, no disrespect to Mamkize, what due diligence was done, because you look at Mamkize, yes, maybe now he has matured a bit, that's good on her part, but the fact that he could work on a pitch and give bonuses to players on pitch, and players are embarrassed, just shows you that, you know, this one was just a financial transaction. There was no sitting down with him and quizzing him about the football knowledge, you know, and football, running a football team, you know, because it's not just about money, it's about can you run the players, because there's emotions, there's everything that is in there. But when you just deal with transactions, it becomes a business, but it's not an ordinary business. So you need to be quizzed. Sit down, present before a board or whatever, and say, okay, fine, this is what I intend to do, this is how I'm gonna do. And those writings be in writing, like what Chelsea did, you know, that before you can take any dividends, you must have spent this amount, you know. So
Can I just
I think
ask
for
you,
me, it's
on that point, should the PSL step in as the FA did in the case of Chelsea? Because if I remember correctly, the Chelsea thing happened middle of the season with the Ukraine stuff. The owner was frozen out, the club's assets were frozen, And for a little bit, up until that owner was found, EPL, the FA stepped in and sort of ran the team. Should we see that type of
Yes.
thing? Because the reason why I'm asking is that Umek Shabalala, it's a month before the league is meant to start, and he's telling players that, "Hey guys, Agnamali." Does it then, in that case, necessitate them having to find an owner quickly?
It's actually a common thing, you know. I think we've seen it with Abu Stoke, with other teams, but I've seen it happen many times. You know that it is said to be put on an administrative when a football owner fails to run the club properly. The league takes reins and put it on an administrative. They run it, you know, until a new owner who can sustain it is taken over. You know, so we've been in a situation where teams go under and players don't get paid and stuff like that, and yet the PSL doesn't take over. And I think maybe it's because maybe they don't have that provision to say, if you don't pay your players for 2 months or 3 months and you don't cover your cost, we take over and we are forced to sell your team. And usually what happens is the team is going to be sold at a lesser market value, you know? So usually what owners do is they make sure that if they see things are going bad,
They
because
jump before they're pushed.
they jump, you know, because here's the thing with Swallows. Everyone could see that, you know what, for the past 3 months, it is a situation has been happening. It was going to lead to exactly this. With Vets, we saw it. It was like, yeah, it's coming, you know? So if there's such kind of trigger mechanism where the PSL steps in, the owners are going to be more alert and say, hey, I don't want to lose more money. Let me jump ship, you know? But I digress and say, I want, hopefully on Friday, so that we can deal maybe with how the FFP would look in the PSL, because I don't want to address Veli that right now. I want to give others a chance. But Veli, you owe me.
Indeed. Guys, please tap the screen, tap the screen, tap the screen, tap the screen, tap the screen. 30,000, guys, just tap. That's all you need to do. Just do this while you're watching, even with your thumb. Vovo, welcome to the show, my brother. How are you?
I'm good and you.
I'm good, my brother. I'm good. Tell me, what do you make of this discussion, Nesi Kulmaila, that we're having here?
Yeah. Firstly, I'd like to greet everyone, and then abantu barizile ama-points and concerns wabo. So nami nje, I will put in the few concerns nami. Firstly, ngizwe ukhumo kulamajita aphumile akhuluma nge-rejection ye-sponsor se-Solus. I think uthe Telkom, and then ngiyacabanga ukuthi maybe there were clauses whereby bangazwisisana kahle before ba-rejecta i-sponsor. I remember i-Chelsea also bengana-sponsor, then bathola i-sponsor. I think say some sort of broadcasting channel, and then EPL rejected that sponsorship because of bona user this broadcasting channel, and then bathole i-Chelsea thole another broadcasting channel. So but ngoba thina sisebenzisa le, we can't accept this sponsor, yabona. So nami ngiyacabanga ukuthi maybe there was kukhona something nje eyenza ukuthi bayi-reject. Then kwabuya kwakhuluma uTebogo, I think, athi they need to vet ama-owners of the teams, yabo, ukuthi the amount they have, will they sustain them for maybe certain season. Ngathi uthe 3, I remember, if I remember well. Yabo. Nami ingithintile leyo ukuthi no, they should vele vet ama-owners or ama-team ukuthi bangakhona ukusustaina i-team for isikhathi esingakanani. And then after lapho they should implement i-financial fair play, ukuthi wena ba-check-e vele njengoba uTebs ashilo ukuthi ba-check ukuthi bangakhona na. So i-financial fair play yona ingaba sharp if ever bayayi-implementa, ba-check ukuthi wena as a owner or as a team ingakhona ukusayina ama-player ngoba like this amount in your bank account, you can sign players from this amount to this amount as a smaller team, and then as a big team you should sign a player from this amount to this amount. Yabona, if ever financial fair play was introduced, so iswalus bengeke ibe la. Yabona, abo Jali, abo Akpay, they are big name players, they shouldn't be here vele. Yabona, so for example, iswalus, but I meant to say arrows, you won't find the arrows fighting for such big name players. They only develop players from development or unknown players. They make them to brand players. So ama bigger teams azobasign. Uyabona. I remember njengo Nithubani Ntsako Makhubele was doing well, singamazi. Uyabona. So Pirates came in and knock basigna banegotiator babanikeza whatever amount babanikeza yona. Then he came back ku-loan. So which means nami ngithi ngiyavuma ukuthi ama-players, smaller teams sign from this amount to this amount. If we are together, develop young players, you have academy players, you can go there, sign players, make money out of them. Yeah, that's my point.
Okay, no, Vovo, thank you so much. I'm gonna come back. Guys, tap the screen, 30,000. Let's try get 30,000 likes. Riga Ngetiski, welcome. How are you, my brother?
I'm good, thanks. And how are you, Mara?
No, I'm good. Tell me, what are your thoughts about this here discussion that we're having?
Okay, so I'm just gonna go a different direction real quickly, right?
Okay.
Because I just want to make a few points. So the first point I wanted to make, I think someone was writing in the comments, Guti, we should crowdfund, right? I think we forget as fans, the concept of Ebola is funded by the fans, right? In a sense, Guti, DSTV would not put this much money into Ebola if we didn't watch football on TV. Do you understand what I'm saying? Right? So money, if DSTV, if you go back and you look at the time DSTV went full force into the Premiership, and you look at how many, so what this thing decoder, then you'll understand which we the fans hold that much in terms of funding football, right? So what I wanted to say is that what did the fans, or what is it that as the fans we are doing to make sure Iswailos has the money, right? I'll tell you this quickly. Iswailos, Itopsinville is 10 Ks from where I am, right? They were playing in Kaizer Chiefs, and the stadium was empty. You remember that game? That stadium is very small. That's a 30,000 seater, small, right? That 20-40 bags helps, it goes a long way. That's the first point I wanted to make. Then the second point to make was Kulmangama speaking about the financial fair play. Guys, we will never get EPSL to tell us Ilokuzana, the clubs particularly, because the PSL tells us how much money they make, right? Which is insane. The PSL as a brand has money. PSL as a brand has a lot of money, right? Now, it's the clubs that are affiliated with the PSL that are struggling financially, not the PSL, the brand. PSL, the brand, has money, brings in money. Some sponsors that they have, they bring in the money, right? It's if you take the example quickly, Uguti, ShopRite, right? And you are a Pocomo, for example. You have your things in my shop. Whose responsibility is it that your things are sold in my shop?
It's ShopRite.
Do you get what I mean? Not necessarily.
Okay.
Not necessarily, right? Because the themselves need to make sure that they also market themselves. And the last time about the Swallows was this whole thing. Oguti, Panyaza was buying Swallows and they're bringing it up and all of those things. And after that, they just went on a sentiment. They thought just based on a sentiment, people are just going to come to the stadium. People are just going to spend their money on them, right? Which is an insane concept to look at, right? But before I lose this, also wanted, as I was saying, Guti, I don't think it's also correct for us to always look at EPLs of this world are doing, right? Because EPL, the clubs are owned by fans, whether you like it or not, right? If the Man City fans say Pep must go, and Pep just won the Champions League yesterday, Pep is gonna go because they're gonna make the statement. Like for example, I think it was the Chelsea fans who said Chelsea is not gonna go and play the Super League as England, as a Euro. They protested. They went into, and they did. They stopped that. It didn't happen, and all of those things. So it's a different concept, or that's a different world that they do. We don't have that world. We don't even know. We talk about Uguti, Uchal is expensive. We don't know that. We don't know how much Swallows is paying Uchal. We have no idea. His salary statements. We have no idea about that. So we cannot sit here with the understanding. And this is where now I come into the PSL. The PSL is a very secretive league. Not it's a medieval those what's called gentlemen's clubs where things are hidden and then right. Like when they declined Cape Town a sponsor, did they come out and tell us why? Did they come out and say, okay, Cape Town did not come to us in the first place, which is against the rule? Now, after they did come to us, these are the reasons why we feel this sponsorship is not aligning with our brand. They never. Maybe you guys can read that statement. So the points. To sum up my points, because Nanji, I'm everywhere. The point I'm trying to make is that we South African football fans sit in platforms like these. We go on Twitter, we talk things, we do, but we don't understand the power that we actually have with PSL. We don't grasp this brand is nothing without us. If we all say Guti, during the derby, for example, right? We don't go to the stadium, we switch off, or we all unsubscribe to 204 or 202, sorry. And then we say PSL must do 2 and 3 before we get back onto that. Do you not think the PSL is gonna listen to us? Right now, they don't have anything. Abasisabi, basically. They don't fear us as fans, and they don't hold any power in football. And this is both in saying, we cannot save our clubs.
I want to stick on that point where I know in England for a very long time, the fans had AGM representation. So I remember with Arsenal, there was a time when Arsenal every year had to come and account to fans at the AGM, and they were represented and you could ask questions and do all those things. Do you think maybe we lack that type of fan interaction?
Definitely. Look at what the fans did at Bayern. I think it was last season where they actually chased the sponsor away. Fans of the club said, we don't want the sponsor. And the sponsor, the club was like, okay, the contract is ending. Once the contract ends, we're not going to renew. Those were the fans because they were represented in the AGM, not in the supporters clubs. Why must I be support just because I carry a flag that says Tembisa, but my voice is just there as a fan? It doesn't go up to the board. Do you get what I'm saying? Even now, the FA came out to say in England that if teams want to change their badges, just the badge, team colors, they can't do that without the fans agreeing to that. So Man City cannot say today our crest to be a lion. They can't do that on their own, right? But yet we see it here in our crest all the time because no PSL club, no one takes the fans seriously. Vice versa, us as the fans do not take ourselves seriously to fight for our clubs, to save our clubs.
Okay, okay.
Thanks,
Let me
thanks,
just
thanks.
let me head on to YouTube quickly. Let's see. Maluse, how are you doing? How are you doing? How are you doing? Wong says PSL mustn't wait until the season end. Each and every 3 months, owners must come and show if how much does the owner have for the team, because we can't do this thing of postponed games at this time, says Ubongs. Let me head on over here to TikTok. Let's see what the guys are saying. Please, guys, tap on the screen. Tap on the screen, tap on the screen, tap on the screen. Let's see. Players will be afraid to play for such teams like Swallows, which is true because you might not get paid. Who knows what's going to happen? Oh, Leander, my fave. How are you doing? Kuma says, guys, how much is Swallows? Maybe we can crowdfund it. Let's see. Swallow statement has been issued. Is all over Facebook. Yes, it's issued from Swallow's side. But I don't think the PSL has issued anything unless something has come out during the course of the show. What will happen to my Betway ticket? Hey, that's another one. Nezabalaza, guys. That's why. Want that weekend the teams should stay within their means. Karabo, go ahead and ask your question. Also, tickets are too expensive. Tickets should be between 10 and 15 rand, says Tabang. We have been protesting against the Glazers for some time, 19 years. Enotamba says, what is going to happen to Swallows? Are they going to be punished or points taken to Sundowns? What's this law? Well, the law here, PSL says that they're going to sit down at one of these AGMs or the executive meetings that they have and decide there. That's usually what tends to happen and why we don't get the statements from EPSL. Daylight robbery, then Sundowns fans and club. Fair play to Sundowns, 3 points. Why the team in the PSL can't pay a player? PSL isn't in the league to play. As for owners having to show their bank, yes, they must show them, man. KG says, Jomokos must buy solo status. Betway says, refund me. Okay, Betway says they'll refund according to Lerato. Velile, I want to ask you, there's so many questions I want to get off, but we don't have time. But I want to ask you this question. For me, it seems as though less than simple. My requirements, the rules, all of that stuff, but they're not being implemented. Who stands to benefit? Why, man, bangas implement lama requirements, and who stands to benefit from that? And then number two, ownership model. Can we see an ownership model where fans own some of the club? Do you think that the PSL would allow that?
Oh, yeah, no, first of all, I can say what great points from my comment earlier on about the whole situation here. Okay, but back to your question. As long as EPSL still got a club director as a permanent CEO, because that's permanent position now.
Yeah, acting, man, now, acting. Kalabati acting.
Now actor for Stars Ghana. Now actor for 10 years, acting. And that's So, yeah, well, as long as it is still, you still got that situation whereby one of the club owners is, because like PSL, that person is in charge for administrative to run. She's the one who's running the PSL. And she also, they have to implement the rules. As long as they've got the rules that are there, but you don't follow them. Because the rules are there and they're simple. It's like today's game. The rules are simple. Sundowns are supposed to come pitch there, wearing their full uniform gear, get into the ground. If someone doesn't pitch, the ref wears it was okay, you give Sundowns their 3 points, maybe you have 4 goals, how many, it's done. That is all. But the problem with the why even allows when certain team, when the rules were setting clearly, you have to register your MDC players to play. But there's certain teams that our players are sick because of COVID. They didn't even pitch. They even locked the stadium. And then you let that pass. You want to do that, then you create a problem. For certain things like this, they're going to creep out now and then because they're going to ask you, you didn't fix that one or didn't tell that one and so and so and so. Because as I've said, with these people, this is their business. They sit there all together on the board of governors meeting and also come up with these rules, the PSL. But they need to select someone who's neutral, who's going to implement these rules without fear or favor. Because while some of them are still there administratively, I can understand the separate of the board, the PSL. Board is like this previous structures in the company, but maybe your board, and then you've got your executive, and then you've got your staff. So it's different levels there of employment. It's understandable. But as long as there is still a person who's also an owner of the club, that person who compromised now, in terms of implementing the rules fully. Because at the same time, if you have to implement the rules, but the rules affect the chairman, the PSL, who's also a club owner, you think twice for the corner when it comes to certain things. But if you can get anyone who's neutral, who's going to implement rules all the way to the core, the way they are, then you won't have this type of a problem.
And I like that point. I like that point because as board of governors, maybe chronic decision esibona ukuthi yazi one day nami izongiluma le decision. So maybe I'm not going to take that decision, must vote.
That's the problem there, because you my ears are into this. Look, for example, we've been crying about playoffs, these promotional playoffs. But you know who are the people who are against them? Are the same owners they who are on the club with PSL. Because they know as long as I can escape number 16 and then I'm in number 14, then I've still got a chance to come back to PSL. And also, even the same owners, Baba second division, now before they push their own interest, if I didn't come number 1, I could still come number 2 and 3, then I could playoffs. And in my playoffs, anything can happen. Instead of just coming in there and saying, number 1, number 2, we go to PSL, 15, 16 and 14, relegation straight. But no, but because they've got this thing, this one it will benefit me, so I have to hold on into it. That's why you won't take complete position again when it comes to dealing with those consequences. But in terms of ownership, Yama club, anyone who's got money and who's interested in running a soccer business can do that. Or anyone who's interested into funding the project of football can do that. As long as you've got money to sustain that project, then I don't see any problem. Because it seems like you find anyone who just got money, I told him, only score, only tender, then you think you're going to operate, you're just going to come into soccer, then you know about it, they come up with their own reasons. We know. But in terms of ownership, that the due diligence needs to be done carefully on the owners, which that person can be able to sustain a team there. Because if it's not, it's going to be a problem moving forward. And it also adds to the issue that we have raised before. We still need to ask ourselves question, this artificial economy, I've said it before, this artificial economy that was created by the players to really good players that are playing with PSL, do we really value the price that they are saying this person, like people are getting paid? Or if you say these players must pay so much, that do they really deserve it? If I can ask, for example, how much, if you have to guess,
Kutumela. I don't think it's that much, man. I'm
But
sure
because
Boma 60.
yeah. But now because we have Sundowns, and the Sundowns it increased that package,
Yeah.
But keep it 6 to keep it Sundowns. That's bigger and a good team like. Do you think how much does he worth? So as we discuss in terms of this economy, because you hear a team is playing at FNB Stadium, it cost us 300,000 to host a match. Also, if it costs 300,000 to host a match, can't you get $1 and get 300,000? Like, really, can they really break down those expenses to us? But like 100,000 for security or 100,000 for that we should know, because this economy is just artificial. Sisashayiwe kakhulu. But if you give it chance there.
But they are cooking the books. But it's going back in Chalo. Thank you, Belile. Agent, who stands to benefit? Because for me, from my experience of watching things, the moment simple things are not being done, it means that somebody somewhere is benefiting from these things. Why don't we have the requirements down? And then secondly, ownership model. Will we ever see fans owning teams or fans owning parts of teams, fans having AGM slots, board slots, things like that in SA?
Yeah, but I wanted to ignore this, but it's fine. I'm not gonna ignore. First things first, Velile. Sticks. I think I value your input when you talk about old age mummified players. Let's stick there with your knowledge of players. About the Momokwena, I didn't know the Momokwena, to be honest. That's why I trust you. But let me dispel this. It was M108. The reason why in M108 you will see black around the Loftus Stadium is they don't want Vodacom, so usually put black things. But during league games, it doesn't matter. So it was M108, my brother. Let me correct that. First things first. And secondly, the thing is, and I think, like I said, maybe we should visit this thing some other time, because I yet been mentioned. I was like, okay, let me not address it. But if FFP, the thing is, and I think Kuma said this, it looks like the league is tailored for two teams, just that Sundowns became a nuisance and added themselves to those teams, because FFP will only benefit two teams, and maybe Sundowns, because maybe Motsepo find a way around it with Abu Ubuntu and stuff. But the problem is, if Chiefs has a 1 billion sponsorship over 5 years, it's like 300,000, or something, whatever it is, over every year, they can spend that. But you look at the smaller teams or Swallows and what, the source of revenue for them is strictly grants. Gate tickets, whatever, merchandise sales, whatever. It's not enough revenue that you can say you're going to keep teams from that. If anything, you're going to increase the gap between the so-called big three and others, because they'll only take the good players and others will have the small players. But I digress, and I wish we'd have this conversation.
But again, it comes down to this question, requirements, because again, I hear us speaking about it, but the board of governors of the PSL consists of owners. So if there's two owners that are benefiting and the other ones are not benefiting, you'd imagine that the requirements will change very quickly if you are on the lesser end of this thing. Why is it that these requirements are not implemented down to FFP, down to vetting owners? Surely that should be a simple thing that you look at.
The question is, who are the motive forces which benefits? I think that's the question that we're asking, and I think due diligence is very expensive. Due diligence is very expensive in the sense that you have to appoint an independent board, you're going to pay the money, sitting allowances, what, So it's very expensive. So people who benefit are the owners, people who get money from PSL, because if you are saying you want to spend $1 million from SAFA saying, I'm going to spend 1 million, who's going to oversee PSL, what? That 1 million or whatever it is less money into the pockets of the owners, So hence, you see that anything which is due diligence is not done in SA football, because they want to cut corners and cut costs, But in the long run, it leads to exactly more costs than you should have had. You see, but it's a typical black person mentality that I want to be short-sighted. I don't want to look in the future. I just want to look here, But to your second question, fan-owned clubs, I think maybe Bayern is the exception in that.
Yeah.
But I would take a case study of teams from Zambia, Botswana, and Zimbabwe. They have clubs which are owned by the society, which is like a collection of fans and stuff like that. And almost exposed my identity there, but on seeing the books and seeing the stuff like that, there was a consistent trend that they went down, because when the likes of Abojan and Galaxy got in the league, owned by Mines, and they can spend more, the society clubs couldn't match them because they're relying on contributions or stuff like that, so it ended up hitting those society clubs, and most of them have been relegated, unfortunately. So I'm not sure if fan ownership is the way, because of exactly that it's going to be difficult to raise sufficient funds, and the decision making is still going to be suspect, because it's going to be slower because you have to consult many people. My alternative would be strict vetting. I think vetting is the way to go, and sustainability the rules we put there for owners, and like you were saying, there must be a safety log in the sense that the PSL should know when to get in and say, now, as the owner, we have failed to run this club. We are taking it from you. We're going to run it until we find a new owner. And the new owner is going to sell us maybe, let's say, at 10%, 20% less market value share. And from that, we're going to take out 20% or 30% because we've been running it for you. And then we're not going to remain with the 50 or 60%, which is going to be a loss. I think that would be motivation enough so that we don't see such kind of things,
But again,
But otherwise,
if we're voting for
for
it,
me.
I wouldn't want to put myself in that situation one day. So I'm going to vote a certain way.
It goes back to that, but like I said, there is a lot of things which are wrong at SAFA, and I don't think most of them would be solved in my lifetime. Maybe my kids would see a better SAFA, but I don't think they'll be solved in my lifetime. But the question is how, and maybe Ringo said this, that is it Ringo? Ringa. The individual disc. Yeah. He said this, that maybe as fans, instead of babalazing and putting our pressure onto coaches, let it be broader than coaches, because I think if Chiefs fans wanted solutions to that club's problems, they could have been long been solved by fans. But fans, we always misallocate our anger and we end up not having the desired result. So maybe fans have to be involved in that. And lastly, I wanted to say on maybe fan ownership, now that I remember, maybe the rule should be maybe 2%, 5%, a certain percentage of ownership should be from the fans, so that the fans can have their voices heard. But then the problem again is you're going to have somebody who are going to go there, eat ice cream.
They're going to smile with them down.
I'm not mentioning names.
They're going to smile with ownership.
When they see certain ladies, they just smile and
They're going to smile.
But I think if and I think Udiski said this, it's not enough for us to put banners, say Mamelodi branch, branch. No, that's not useless. If you have 5% and you have a revolving, maybe shareholders who put there, who can raise their voices and say, but at least these people are aware of our concerns. So I think maybe that could be the solution. Thanks, man. Let me go and watch Chelsea, man. Chelsea shit.
Yeah. Nakishapuka team. My team is up there. I'm okay. I don't care about anybody else. Bobo, why aren't these rules there? Why not benefit from these rules not being there?
I think the big teams are benefiting.
Hey, I can't hear you properly.
Yeah, network
There we go. There we go. Yeah.
Okay. I think the big teams are benefiting also, Lana. Amanye ama-teams bayabapunisha ngama-hard punishment la, you see. So angazi kungenziwa kanjani. They need to, angithi, I think they need to change a board, the PSL board, then bring in new people abakwazi ukuba, like, let me say kungabi nabantu aba-own ama-teams there, uyabona. Ngoba manje mostly bakhala nge-Chiefs ukuthi hayi Chiefs yona ithola ma-slight punishments la, you understand. So yeah, if ever they can change the board and bring in abantu abanga-own ama-teams. I think kuzoba sharp. Bazothatha ama-decisions based on ama-rules abawabekile as i-board, and then bayenze into e-right, uyabona, because I think nami if ever i-Chiefs was doing njenge-Swallows, maybe bangathola i-slight punishment. You understand? I remember i-game, I think it was Jomo Cosmos ne-Chiefs. I don't remember i-season very well, whereby i-Jomo Cosmos ifielded i-player engekho ku-team sheet. I don't think, I think maybe now uyayikhumbula that match. The goalkeeper was ubani le colored le, it was Nike or something like that, surname yakhona. Yeah. So bathole a very hard punishment. Then ne-Sundowns nayo yafielder, it was Arends, ne? By fine a small portion amount of money. So when it comes to big teams and smaller teams, punishment wakhona awafani. Uyabona? So because of Bayaz Umtsipe has a lot of money, Kaiser has a lot of money, and then uyabona ama-sponsors kuzokhalwa and stakeholders bazowenza whatever uyabona. So I think vele if they can change i-board, bring in new board members, abo Mato Madlala, abo Kaiser, abo Khoza ba-focus emathimini wabo, then kungaba sharp there.
Okay. Uthi ngale ndaba ye-fan ownership singawa-own ama-team as fans boma 5-10% or maybe si-own 100%. Ngathi yakhatha.
I think
There we
it's a
go.
difficult one leyo. As agent ashilo ukuthi decisions will be slower than manje, uyabona, because they need to consult let me say a community or ama-fans regarding maybe a certain player. Abanye bazothi hayi asiyifuni, wonke umuntu unama-opinion wakhe, uyabona, hayi akekho mnandi asikufuni, thina siyamfuna, uyabona, then kuzoba ne-clash nyana, then angeke ibe sharp. But i-right mayikanjena, ownership makunomuntu bavete ba-check ukuthi how man i-amount anayo ingakanani, then i-sponsor onaso si-contribute kanjani sona. So for i-community to own, for me nami it's a no.
Okay. No, Vovo, thank you so much for joining me. I'm just looking at the time. Guys, please tap the screen. Let's try and get as many likes as we can. Ringayetiski, I want to come to you, my brother, again. I get the feeling that we are angry about things and we question things, but the status quo is the status quo within the PSL. And when they go to vote, man, it doesn't seem like these things worry them. Who stands to benefit when these requirements, these seemingly simple requirements, are not being run? Who benefits here? Why would they not implement these things?
Yeah, I think your first point is very valid. It's going to remain the status quo for the longest time because we are nowhere in asike matafuleni amakhulu, right? And I'm just to clarify, it's very difficult to say like South Africa we should have fans have full ownership or part ownership, right? Because amaklabu ethu are unique in a like, for example, there's no way umuntu ohlala eCape Town owns iKaizer Chiefs as a PFA, and that person's voice is going to be heard. If you understand what I'm trying to say, right? Concept is difficult to South Africa. The point I was trying to make is our voices need to be heard, and which is the point that you're making, right? For example, we, the people who buy the product, are not holding the people who are selling us the product, the people who are managing the product, we are not holding them into account, there's no way. Like Lokuzana, every TikTok is an email where you can send in a complaint. Where do people complain about the PSL? As an example, where do people say last match was not up to standard, the field was not well? Where do people do that? That's an example, right? So for as long as the status quo is going to remain, right? And you speak about benefits, right? I think this happens throughout where there's money and there's power, right? For as long as people are holding on to for as long as they are holding on to the finances, they'll never let it go. Like we need to, Dr. Ivan, Dr. Mtaung, we appreciate what you've done for the league. We appreciate the brand that you took from the 85 when you came up with the concept, and then in 96 the concept became fruitful. We appreciate that, right? But now football has evolved so much. There's more people participating in football than there were last season, for example. Like there's podcasts, there's sports scientists, there's a lot of people who are now fully immersed in this football that you started so long ago. Let those people come in, let those people run, let new ideas come up. Like so I'm gonna go back to this thing. I hate this Q innovative thing. You know that the PSL.
The quarter, yeah. Every quarter, who wins the quarter?
Even for quarter, I don't like that thing. It makes absolutely no difference in bringing up the performance of the players, in making football exciting. It has no. It's don't understand that idea. It came from people who might not have a broader view of football out time, who might not understand why we love Philly games so much, why we like going into these exhibition games more than we go into the PSL. They don't understand that. I understand that protecting it, but they need to let go. We need more ideas. We need more creativity. Like you are asking about an ideal owner, right? And one of the people I mentioned is Uvus Tembekwayo. Is it Tembekwayo? The motivational speaker, right? Seeing how he can sell you a brand and understand the brand. We need people abanjalo who think outside what football used to be back in the days. People who think about what next 10 years is going to look like in football as it sits now. So I think that the owners themselves are benefiting from all this mess. They are benefiting from all this chaos and all this non-movement, right? Because if we probe too much and we move this forward a lot, there's going to be uncomfortability. And once that uncomfortability happens, they're going to lose. They're going to lose their legacies because they are clutching on us. They are clutching onto their legacies and appreciate what they've done for the football. We will never forget Dr. Mtaung and Dr. Ivan Court. We are never going to forget that. But it's time now they relinquish what it is and give it to the next generation. And I'm not saying I know who the next generation is, but the people who have ideas can take this lead forward and open it up to criticism, up to ideas, open it up to strategic thinking. Like it's a brand, every brand will be criticized, but people love this brand. And as you said in the beginning, we love this brand. This brand has so much potential, so much potential. Yeah, for as long as we fight for the power and the money, there's nothing we can do.
I know. My brother, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you to the panels, guys. For time's sake, I want to try shorten the show a little bit. Look, please tap on the screen, tap on the screen, tap on the screen. Last 5 minutes, guys. If you can just give me just tap for 30 seconds. That's all you need to do. Just that for 30 seconds to help me. Hi, man, Malube Kutso. It's a bit late, man. I said I was going to do two. To close off, I think for me, the reason why shows like this exist or platforms like this exist, I think people think it's just to come out and criticize. But a lot of the time, guys, there's so much the league can do and grow and be. But my concern is that we're always plagued by the same things. We're plagued by players not being paid, teams being sold, this and this and this and this. And I want us to start asking the deeper questions as to, okay, Lomutu Lote, he can sustain a team for 5 years. Now it's the year 2, and that's not happening. Should the PSL not sit back and go, we need to make sure that the people we're bringing in are able to sustain that? Number one, firstly, financially, are able to come in and sustain a club financially for a period of time. And then number two, are we getting people that then, on top of sustain, they want to move the clubs forward? You know, I always speak about placeholder coaches in the league, but there's placeholder owners. There's owners that are just there. You know, they're happy to have a team. They're happy to do this thing. They're happy to just, you know, live like that. Paycheck to paycheck, hand to mouth, up until it catches up to them. Grant to grant. So then now you sit back and you ask about the PSL. What are the processes that are allowing this to carry on happening? What are the processes? Why is it that this can happen year in and year out? Every 2 years, we're at risk of losing a team, or 2 or 3. And these things are not rocket science, guys. They're not rocket science. Look at what the EPL did. The EPL has requirements for coaches, for owners. You come in as an owner, they ask you, for 5 years, can you sustain this club? What do you think about the future of this club? We need to renovate and build stadiums in the future. Are you able to do that? What is your background? All of these questions are simple questions. But for some reason, the PSL is not being asked. And I think the other problem with the PSL for me, more than anything, is that the owners themselves have too much power and leverage within the PSL. You think financial fair play is not in the PSL because of people fighting or whatever? No, it's because the owners themselves know that if my team gets audited today and they say financial fair play, forget about Umutsepe. Forget about Mutsepe. Think about the other teams that are running. But when you look at them financially in the companies, maybe they're not quite there. Think of what's happening there and what might happen if we stop you and we say you can no longer do that thing. That's why we won't see financial fair play. That's why. That's why we won't see other things. I don't want to delve into that, but there's other things in the PSL that we won't see about VAR. There's a reason why we're not going to see about VAR in the league, and it doesn't have to do with money. So we need to then ask these questions because it's simple, man. It's simple. All of these things we're speaking about, if us fans can think about it, what happens to them? Then we touched on accountability. How is Chiefs accountable to the fans? How are they forced to be accountable? Should we ask them to be accountable as people who've started their own clubs and run their own clubs? Should we ask them to be accountable? All of these owners? Should they be a board seat for fans? Where all of us, man, you sign up to an app, they vet you, they do whatever, and then come voting time, go AGM. Press, do I agree or disagree? They tell you the votes or whatever's done. We've got technologies to take care of all of those things. But will it be allowed? Why won't it be allowed? Why do we have these models? Now, Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich is, I believe, half owned by the fans. If not, it's half owned by the fans. Which means that there's a mechanism for them to come in and say, yes, guys, lokocha simfudi. And as these Bayern fans and how we run our thing, we can vote and say, no, we don't want this guy. Not this Facebook voting that they keep accusing us of. They actually have a say. There's a team in the NFL, the Green Bay Packers, wholly owned by a community thing from Green Bay. So those guys vote and do whatever, then they come in and they sit with the board of governors of the NFL, and then they have a voice directly. Because what I'm getting from all of the conversations we have, if I'm going to be 100% honest with you guys, is that you are angry. I am angry. Everybody's angry. We're all on social media saying things, right? Swallow says they're not going to honor this match today, or honor this match and the one on the 30th versus Golden Arrows. You are angry as a Sundowns fan or as a Swallows fan. I'm angry because I was meant to do a show that I can't do. We've all got our issues about this thing. But behind closed doors, back real, guys. There's a reason why the PSL hasn't said anything yet. Because we know they're going to sit down and do these things. And there are a lot of valid questions that people have been asking in this thing. Chief does its own board for home games. How is that allowed? But then somebody else can't get a sponsor. How is that thing allowed, but then this one can't do that? But then every day it comes to a case-by-case basis. They must vote on every single thing. Do we not have rules? I like the other thing. There was somebody in the comments here who said, maybe every 3 months, the owners must be audited to say, Yazin, are you still fine? Can you still pay? Are you having any issues? And then we have to have rules about what happens after that. I see a team is dying. Does the PSL not go, okay, as the PSL, we're going to step in and we're going to take over this team for the time being and look for an owner. Similar to what happened with Chelsea. We're going to take over the team for the time being, and then at the end of the day, we'll find the owner, we'll work out that deal, we'll push that guy out. Instead of Mek Shabalala, 3 weeks before the league is meant to start, is telling players in meetings that, I say call a team. Doesn't know where they're going to sell to, don't know who the possible owners of the future are going to be, don't know anything, to the point where Umam Kize, in the middle of a disciplinary, gets called and said, hey, fam, you can buy this team actually. We won't punish you. Isn't that crazy? Surely at the PSL right now, if the PSL was run properly, there should be a line of owners that are waiting, where they go, guys, now you're waiting list. Oh, Babs Banban, this company wants to do this, that one wants to do this equity firm run by this one. They should have a list of people who are ready. It happened in the NBA, for example. The NBA, the owner said something really bad, and then to protect the brand, they pushed him out and they brought in new owners. There were owners ready in line, but then the PSL is trying to scramble owners last minute. Doesn't make sense to me for a league that is as old as the PSL, a league that is as commercially big as the PSL. Struggling for sponsors, struggling for owners, struggling to pay players, guys, to pay players. And I know we're focusing on Swallows because Swallows is what we're talking about, what sparked all of this. But truth be told, every couple of months, there's another team that can't play players, that can't pay players. There's another team that can't do this. There's another team that can't do that. So let's be honest, guys. So let me read the last comments before I close here. Sundowns will not get 3 points because no officials were available at the stadium. An authentic one. Think about that. Again, let's think deeply about this thing. We all know that officials have to be at a stadium and the team has to warm up and do all those things for a forfeit to work. So that means that in the time, hours before the game, when Abo Swallows had said something, right? No officials, as I understand it, no officials showed up to the game. Loophole. I get that's the loophole. Now it's going to go to a vote instead of it being a rule that is applied. Do you guys understand what I'm saying? So when your team's in that situation, that means that people go officing, were fine with it, everybody was okay with it. These are the questions. Surely there's rules governing all of this stuff. PSL is like NC, They don't ask important questions. That's why you have situations like TTM, not Swallows. Everybody's angry, says Uvo. Olani says the fact that they didn't appoint Dr. Mtsipe as acting CEO when he was in the PSL board still wows me. Apparently he even ran and they just turned it down. Mkiza says financial fair play can help with that. I don't think financial fair play is going to help with that, honestly speaking. And I think our league is at a place where you need funding and you need crazy funding before you can go to financial fair play. Because again, financial fair play is not going to hurt Sundowns. Financial fair play is not going to hurt Chiefs, not going to hurt Pirates. Financial fair play is going to expose the teams at the bottom that are running on fumes. There's a lot of teams, I can bet, that are surviving not of what they're earning. And if we say financial fair play, you make it even worse. But PSL tax shops in Tabeling, financial fair play will make clubs be able to maintain themselves. Volvo says then they're getting monthly grant every month. EJ says, is PSL going to get a sponsor after DSTV? Our league might die. Tabeling says, remember what stopped Barcelona from signing players? They should implement La Liga rules. Remember, you're not allowed to sign and keep players if they're going to cost your clubs over your revenue. A lot of teams would be killed by that. Let's see on Facebook. Cornelia says, I just wanted the 3 points from Swallows. We should be on 37 points tonight. Sitla says, no man, we are Sundowns are owed 3 points by the PSL. This is not fair. Cornelia says, so you think they should award us 3 points and be a forfeit? What are the rules of the PSL? Can you request the game to be postponed on the same day? Nelisi says, we can discuss as much as we want, but what does the rule book say about this matter? I don't think the rule book says much. I think it's going to go down to a vote, to be honest with you guys. I think so. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining me. If you have not followed, please follow. Let's do a last flurry of likes, guys. A last flurry of likes. Please, if you want to watch any of the previous episodes, they're available in full on YouTube. I've been banned from Facebook for life. They've cut me off completely. So YouTube is going to be where you'll find all of the previous episodes we've had, where we've had a lot of really great discussions like today about a ton of different things. And it's not just about reviewing games and all of that stuff. It's also about speaking about some of these topics that we have in our local football. So they are available in full on YouTube. If you want to be part of our WhatsApp group, we have an Overthinking Football WhatsApp group where that's where we go ham on each other, speaking about these things, bringing up points, bringing pictures and all of the stuff, because we don't have the limit of 2 hours as the show does. You can join that by going over to YouTube, subscribe, then click join. A membership is 20 Rand at the cheapest, and then every month you'll be allowed then into our WhatsApp group where we have more of these discussions. So thank you so much, guys, for joining me. Why are you burned on Facebook? They say I infringed on copyright, but they're not telling me what copyright. Marage, it is what it is. There's other platforms for all of these things. So guys, thank you so much. I'll see you guys then tomorrow, 8 p.m. Let's have another great discussion as we did today. Thank you to the panelists. Thank you to everybody in the comments. Thank you to Tolile for the gifts, Uvovo for the gifts. Out here sharp, MJI, we out here sharp. Thank you for the gift on that side too. I'll see you guys tomorrow, 8 p.m. Oh, also, please support. I put out videos on TikTok almost daily. I put out videos on YouTube, longer form videos. Also, please support, man. Support. Go like, go watch. Even if you can't contribute that 20 Rand, watching one of my videos helps quite a bit. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you guys.